How we doing? I'm Dusty on Bengals Army, and I got good buddy Maan from Bengals Pulse. How you doing, Maan?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me on, man. Let's talk
Yeah,
some
thanks
Bengals.
thanks for coming on again. It's been a minute and not been too consistent with this season the way it's gone. I don't know how you guys do it. Consistency is tough when you got a crazy life that you live, but you
I
guys
hear you.
grind
I
it
hear
out
you.
and do great. So how are we feeling about free agency so far? It was slow at first, and then a couple little signings here and there. But I'll be honest, I'm not too thrilled. I don't feel like we got better. If you ask me, my opinion is we have not got better.
I agree with you, and I apologize for the glare, guys. I live in Florida, and the sun is beating down on the back of my house, and I have these little stand up guys who try to block the sunlight to come in. And sorry about that glare. No, I
Is that
feel
Ted
you. It's been
Lasso?
That's Ted Lasso, Keanu Reeves, and I have a. Do you remember during COVID that you could buy a cutout of yourself and they put it in the stands? You
Yeah.
remember how they did that? Well,
Yep.
mine is back there blocking some of the sun, so that's me in between those guys. Yeah, no,
Ted Lasso is the guy right there.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Um, I tell you, I agree with your assessment on free agency. We've made some decent moves, but at the same time, the guys we lost, it's been an emotional week. DJ Reader, Joe Mixon, the T Higgins situation. These are core players that the last 3 years have played such a big part in the Bengals and the resurgence, and two of them are gone, potentially a third one. Man, it's tough. DJ Reader is going to go down as one of my all-time favorite Bengals, and him signing with the Lions yesterday was a punch in the gut. It was pretty emotional, especially in Bengals spaces.
I try to stay out of there, man. That stuff gets me too worked up. People can be
Yeah.
mean in there and just say
Oh yeah,
crazy stuff.
no, I hear you. I hear. You. I find it entertaining, the raw emotion, and some of it is a little over the top. I'll be the first to admit that.
Yeah, it can be a little entertaining, that's for sure. But I do want to backtrack a little bit. You were apologizing for the glare. It looks good on my end, but from being in Ohio, the past couple of days we got a little rain, and that's going to keep up. So yeah, don't apologize for that beautiful sun, man, and enjoy it.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
know. Trust me, it's comfortable, but in about 2 or 3 months, it's going to be 95 degrees. You take a shower, you start sweating again. Even if
oh
you
yeah,
have good AC, it just doesn't. It gets so brutally hot down here. But I love Florida, but I'm not going to lie to you. I miss it up north, and I'm
hmm
one of the few guys in this state that actually wants to retire and move up north, and it's usually the other way around.
Hey, I
But
love it up here. I love the seasons. Just I've been all over, and Ohio's home. Ohio's home.
yeah,
But what's the hottest? You're a fireman, so I'm sure in your suits and stuff that you experience some crazy heat, dude. What's the hottest day you've had to work in?
we've had. August and July, I mean, it's 90 degrees, but with the humidity and you have your gear on, it's really rough. I mean, we've had working fires in the middle of August during the day, and after about 20 minutes, you're spent. And
Yeah,
they take you to rehab. They start an IV on you, then you put another air pack on, and you go back to work. It's ugly. It's ugly. So we really have to take care of ourselves. We drink a lot of water, stay hydrated, and we just have to prepare for it. It's not like we have a fire every shift. We don't. But
yeah.
that you have to prepare for it because you don't know when it's coming. And it's not just
Mhm.
house fires. Brush fires are brutal also. But we have to prepare for it, and it's
Yeah,
3 more years, and I don't
three
have to
more.
prepare anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, that's not too bad, man. Not too bad. I know when I was in Kuwait it was like 125 degrees. So it was a bit toasty there. I remember getting off the plane and we're all packed in it, and I was like, man, they must have shut the AC off or something. It's hot, getting hot in here. And the closer I got to
yeah,
the door, the more it was like a furnace, man. It was, oh, you step out onto the tarmac and that air just, ooh, it hit you, and it felt like somebody had a, I don't know, like one of them big propane jets just blowing heat. It was like, how am I going to carry all my stuff to where I'm going? Because this is hot as hell right now. I
yeah.
was not
That's
a
more
fan.
like a dry heat, isn't it? Because we spent a week in New Mexico for training years ago, and I remember I got off the plane. It was 100 degrees, but I felt like a blow dryer was just blowing me in the face.
Yeah,
it was different from Florida. I didn't
Oh yeah.
sweat as much. I didn't sweat as much, but it was still hot. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, just down here, the humidity and it's just intense. Even at 7 in the morning, you go out and walk your dog or something, and you're like, man, I'm sweating already. It's, I mean, like right now, we wake up, it's 65 degrees in the morning, then it gets up to the 80s, but it's really nice. You can have a cup of coffee outside. I'm not complaining. A lot of people they save their money all year to come visit Florida for a week, and
Mhm.
I get to live here. And we
Yeah.
live an hour away from Orlando, from all the big attractions. If we ever want to go do anything over there, I live just south of Daytona. If we want to go spend time up there, I'm near Cocoa Beach. I'm in a good part of Florida. I'm blessed.
Yeah, that sounds nice, man. I know when we went to Kuwait, so we went there, was there a couple days. We went to where we were deploying at, flew back. 9 months later, when we got back there, it was March, and it was nice out. It was really nice. I was pretty happy. They had a pool and stuff. Like, man, this place is a little different than I remember in those first couple days, because I think we had 5 days or so. Then we just kind of got to chill, relax, and decompress a little, and that was nice. I would not complain about that temperature, because it was probably like in the high 80s. I don't even think it was 90 degrees yet. It might have been, but it was totally different than when we went there in was it June? I think it was June, yeah. And it was toasty. But we got 27 viewers, which is a high for me. I know some of these guys like Maan are one, they're more consistent, and they have great shows. But thank you guys for tuning in. 27 is we're making some progress. So if you guys want to get in the chat, give us a who day. And I don't drink bourbon too often, but I am having me a little glass of Angel's Envy, one of my favorite bourbons. So if you guys like any, go ahead and drop it in there. Mon, you ever taste bourbon? Are you a beer drinker, or
I,
you just
I,
like
I,
water?
I've had some bourbon, but I'm more of a beer drinker. But there's a bourbon bar down here in Florida. I tell you what, it can get a little pricey. You don't realize there's some exotic
Oh yeah,
bourbons out there.
oh
And I
yeah,
mean, you're talking, 50, 60, $70 a shot. I'm like, what?
yeah.
And I guess
No,
that's not even the real expensive stuff either. There's stuff more than that. And
yeah, Tony's real big into bourbon. So me and him, we had a training in Indiana, and there was this other dude who he collects bourbon like crazy, and they're kind of going back and forth. And I'm like, man, I don't really like. I know a few that I like, and I'm just a simple guy. I got a few I like, and I'll just stick to them. And they're like, yeah, this would be like $80, $80 a finger for in Ohio, but it was like, I don't know, 40 or $50 there. Like, this is a heck of a deal. Like, here, take a sip. I'm like, dude, you got like an ounce and a half or something. Like, I don't want to take a sip of your stuff. Like, no, try it. It's good. And I taste it. I'm like, dude, it tastes the same as the other two you recommended me to try. Like, I don't know. But I have a couple that I like. Angel's Envy's definitely my favorite. But
good for you. Good for you.
yeah. We can get back talking some Bengals. This was a nice little catching up. It's been a minute, man. It's been a little while.
I mean, the way the things happen in Bengalland, sometimes you have to hit that bourbon pretty hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. It makes me tired. I'll drink a little bit of it, and then that old dad's ready to take a nap.
Yeah.
I can drink me I can drink me some Bush Lights and go about my day. But if I drink more than a cup or two of bourbon, I'm ready to take a nap. But
I hear you.
yeah, I guess we can circle back to Joe Mixon. Do you feel like the team did right by him? Because I know, yeah, that was a big controversy, and I don't want to get into all the negative stuff. I think most reasonable people can respect what Joe did for this team and what he meant to us, and his overall ability for 1,300, 1,400 all-purpose yards. Like, he was a really solid player. I understand saving the money, and I'm all for saving the money. If we could have made some bigger signings up to this point, that would make sense to me. Cutting Nick Scott, cutting Joe, or not cutting Joe, but trading him and saving $4 million. So the fact that we didn't do anything that I felt that really replaced that, that's where I feel a little upset about. But I do like what we did with bringing in Zach Moss.
Yeah.
I do like that. I feel like he'll be a good fit. I still think we need to draft a running back. But yeah, what's your thoughts, man?
You're right. It's been pretty emotional, and anybody on Twitter, it's been pretty, back and forth. Team Mixon or Team Cut Mixon, whatever. I've always been on the side to keep Joe. I've been a big fan of his. I think he's been so important to this team. But I will say the other side, the side I didn't agree with, they had good points. They really had valid points. I
Mhm.
get the salary part. I understand the Bengals want to take their offense in a new direction, but I wish somehow they could have kept him. I just think he's a battering ram. People kept on saying things about him, lack of explosiveness. Dusty, he's never really been an explosive guy since he's been in Cincinnati. He's just been a consistent, runner that doesn't fumble the ball. 1,400 all-purpose yards. Um, he's going to have a lot of success in Houston, and I'm rooting for him. The only thing that really irritated me is there were some really over-the-top comments about him from people that are in the know, that really know Bengal football. They interview coaches, they cover the team. Some of
I
the
know where
things
you're
they
going with
said,
this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I love those guys. I listen to them. I
Yeah.
think they're the best of the best. But some of those comments, I mean, they were really over the top and head scratchers. And I just, it seemed a little personal with some of them. That's the way it came
Mhm.
across. But listen, I wish him the best. And you're right about Zach Moss. I think he's going to be a fine player. I love watching him last year with the Colts. I'm glad he's a Bengal. We got him for a bargain, I think.
I think so too. I 100% agree. And yeah, it's funny you brought those guys up because I couldn't think of who it was. I didn't. I think I still said it on your post. I was like, was it these guys? Because it's been a month or so
Yeah.
ago. And when they were talking about it, dude, I was just like, this can't be serious. Like, he is 100% going to be signed, and he's going to be signed. He might not be signed fast if there's a weird market or a back and forth going on, but he's going to play on a football team next year. That's 100% for sure. And they were talking almost league minimum, like vet minimums. And I'm like, I was like, dude, this is, I don't know. I was like, that you guys are saying some stuff that just doesn't sound right to me. And I think I said on there, like, they lost a little bit of respect from me. They probably don't care, but
No,
just yeah, overall, it's like it. I don't know. Joe's done a lot for the team, the organization, the fans. Uh, I don't really care how good of a player or how bad of a player you are, but if you treat the fans with respect and you're wearing the uniform and you go out there and you toss the ball to kids, and that that makes kids will remember that forever. They'll think back. I mean, I can remember when I was a kid, a water boy for varsity football games. It was like I remember that. Like
yeah.
you get Joe doing stuff like that on a routine basis, and kids remember it, and it makes them fans. It makes them appreciate guys like that. So those little things, the locker room, just his energy he would bring, he will be missed. And that's why I feel like between him and DJ's another big one. Von Bell's back, but not having him last year. Jesse Bates, like when you think of a core, if you go back to 2021 and you name me 5 core pieces, I would say I just named 4 of them between Mixon, Reader, Bates, Vaughn, and maybe you could argue Joe
Mhm.
Burrow. But still, I don't know if he's exactly the same type of leader. They trust him, and I think he is the leader of the team. But I I feel like those guys, just the way they handle the other guys, is kind of like they take care of it for Joe. Joe's gonna have to be, I think, a little more vocal this year and stand up some, take a bigger leadership role. And I'm not saying he doesn't take a huge leadership role, but it's it's going to have to move to a next level after losing all those guys.
Yeah, the 2021, 2022 Bengals. Obviously, we talk about Chase, Burrow, Higgins, Mixon. We talk about the Reader and Hendrickson and all of them. I think what made those teams special was the intangibles, that locker room, that leadership. Those guys, that locker room to me was probably the best in the NFL. I mean, those guys loved each other, and you just hit it right on the head. A lot of these guys are gone. Von Bell is back, but DJ Reader, to me, he was the quarterback of the defense. Yeah, he didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the wow stats. He didn't have 10 sacks a year, but still what he did made the people around him better. It freed up people, made our linebackers better players. So losing him is tough. I will say this. I see, I want to stick up for the Bengals here a little bit. Um, he is coming off a pretty significant injury, and he's torn both
Mm-hmm.
quads. in his leg. I can see the hesitation a little bit. Maybe they wanted a protection in the contract. You know, if you get hurt, you don't get paid here, you don't get this bonus or something. And also, I can see where DJ Reader wants to maximize the money, you know, because he's who doesn't? And it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you want to make the most money you possibly can. But
Yeah,
I,
for
I
sure.
think that, yeah, I think the hesitation on the Bengals, it made, I get it a little bit. Do I still want him to be a Bengal? Absolutely. You know, because when he's healthy, I mean, we've seen it for years. The guy, he's unblockable. I mean, uh, I think Pratt and Logan Wilson should give them a portion of their signing bonus. Give him that because he helped them up. He helped them so much.
Oh
But
yes.
I think the Von Bell situation is huge. I think the Geno Stone situation is really going to help that team. That's the one thing about free agency I like. 6 of our 10 defensive backs last year were first or second year players. Those
Hmm.
guys were young, and we saw it firsthand. I think they gave up like 120 explosive plays last year on defense. That's 20 or more yards. In the one game against the Texans, they gave up 17 in one game. That's
Yeah.
rushing and passing. I can guarantee you, if Von Bell was playing in that Texans game, they wouldn't have had 544 yards total offense against us. You know,
Yeah.
the Texans have a fine team, but I think he would have, you know, he was the glue to that defensive backfield. I'm glad he's back there. Jordan Battle is going to be a great safety, but he's going into his second year. He can learn from a Von Bell. Dax Hill. A lot of people are down on Dax. You know, I think Dax still has a lot of potential, could be a good player. But, you know, losing Reader stinks. You know, losing Joe, some of that leadership there, getting Von Bell back offsets some of it. But, buddy, we still need some more players before we go into the draft.
Yeah, 100%. So we didn't really talk about Sheldon Rankins. He he's a guy. He's definitely not going to replace uh Reader, but
Right.
he's a step in the right direction for us. And it'd be nice to have had him paired with BJ and have them guys on a rotation. And everyone's talking about Tier Tart. Like we need that needs to get done. We need to shore our trenches
Yes.
up, and this is something most fans have talked about all year, and it's been kind of an ongoing thing where it's trenches, 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 almost year after year. So it's starting to get old, starting to get a little frustrating. I would really like to see us have made a bigger push. I understand maybe they didn't know with DJ, he wanted to fill the waters in different places. Maybe the Bengals were talking to him, he didn't like what they had to say, so he said, "Well, I'll go test the waters and see what happens." I understand that, I get it, but let's make this push a little sooner. Just Armstead, he got a fair, I think it was like 17 million a year. Wasn't That's not all that crazy when we have the money. I'm not saying spend money to spend money, but I'm saying let's shore up and let's make our weakness a strength. Because last year, what killed us? It was the defensive line. And excuse me, even in the Super Bowl, I think if Larry Ogunjobi was still healthy, I think we could have won the Super Bowl. Just
Yes.
having that interior push, I think that was the one piece missing. And I truly believe we could have won with him there. So I really would
I
have liked
agree.
to see them made a bigger push. In especially when you see what Armstead got, just I feel like that's reasonable enough that we should have been able to make those two signings, Rankins and him, and possibly even Tier Tartar. I don't think he's going to get paid all that much, and we could really short up that D line and not worry had to worry too much about defense. Now you obviously want to get younger, but you don't have that first second round where okay, these are the positions we have to go get. Right tackle, I still wouldn't have cared to bring Jonah back. I mean, I didn't see. Do you know what he got paid? I forget what it was.
I think it was
Was it
2 years,
15?
30 million, 19 guaranteed, so 15 a year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was 15. So
Yeah.
I mean,
But
that's
he's playing right tackle too. The Cardinals told him they signed him as a right tackle. So I think he realized he made himself a lot of money because people like him better as a right tackle than a left tackle. So I think the Bengals helped him
yeah. I
a little
agree.
bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Becton?
You know, man, that's going to be a tough one there. I remember during the draft, I was excited about him because I mean he's built like a, you know, this dude's a god. I mean he's huge, but he just
Six
hasn't panned.
seven.
Yeah, like he's a freak. He just hasn't panned out. He's had injuries. I know Frank Pollock drafted him, or you know, was there his rookie year. Listen, that guy's a lottery ticket. If he comes in, it's not going to change what happens in the draft. If I had $1,000, I'd put it down right now. The Bengals are picking a right tackle at 18. I just I just don't see how they can't. I think it's going to be somebody there, unless they're all gone. The one, and there could be 5 tackles drafted before the Bengals pick at 18. I see, like a Mims or a Latham, somebody there being that pick, or maybe a Fuatanu from Washington. Back to Sheldon Rankins real quick. Yeah, he's going to be like that Larry O guy, Larry Ogunjobi. He's built like him, and I think he's going to make B.J. Hill a better player, because B.J. Hill last year, Dusty, he played so many snaps, he just got wore down, and he
Hmm.
hasn't been the same player, because when him and Larry O, platooned in 2021, they stayed fresh and they combined for 14 sacks.
Yeah.
So last year, I think Lou Anarumo, he knew he didn't have the depth in that defensive line, and he had to play Hendrickson, Hubbard, Reeder, and B.J. Hill more than he wanted to. He couldn't give them the breathers because there was a big drop off when they came off the field. Sheldon Rankins, if they get Tierra Tart, that would be great. Yeah, they're not the same kind of player as DJ Reader. DJ Reader's 330, 340. These guys are 305, 310 pounds. They still have to get a space eater in there eventually. Hopefully, they can get one in the draft, or maybe potential trade of somebody on another roster. But Rankins, Tart, and Hill, I'll take that. I'll
Yeah.
take that right now, because that's going to improve the overall depth of that defensive line. They can get somebody else, a little bigger body, maybe in the draft, that can help, free up those the guards, so the linebackers can flow and make tackles. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Tart was in Cincinnati yesterday. Him and Becton both. Hopefully, while we're on today, they sign.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Breaking
I just,
news, baby.
yeah, I know. I guess my thought is I've been cool with the Bengals, not exactly always being all in and making kind of smart moves and being wise with their money, not getting in cap hell, as some people call it. So I can respect that and I like that. But the thought of kind of going all in this year in this window was something I wanted to see. Almost like 2021 was almost wasn't all in, but it was kind of all in for the Bengals. We signed some guys that we weren't sure would be the players they became. Cheeto and Trey, even Eli Apple. I think Von Bell was a part of that group. Like those guys came in and they made a really big difference for us. And obviously DJ Reader the year before that, I believe. So we signed some dudes and we made that defense. We kind of solidified it and then got pieces in the draft that really worked out for us. Mainly the linebackers, and plus we had Jesse as well. So it would be it would have been nice to see something a little more of a push, maybe similar to that. Even last year when we got the O line with with Ted Karras and Alex Kappa, like right off the rip, these are guys we want to bring them in. Boom, they were signed, they were in there. They weren't tier one guys. They were, just kind of average players, maybe slightly above average players. And we got them and we brought them in. And that's kind of the moves that I would have liked to see. Identify the guys you want, be aggressive. They don't have to be tier one, but be aggressive in the guys you want, get them and bring them in. Instead, it was kind of, it just seemed different. It felt different. This offseason feels different to me. It doesn't feel, um, I don't know. It feels a little disappointing, I guess. And it could just be the departure of some of our favorite players could be a part of that as well. And watching the team kind of shift a little. But yeah, Tyler Boyd, how you think he's going to Pittsburgh or he's still been lingering around?
Yeah, I think he will eventually be there, because that's his hometown. That's going to be hard for me, because I've always been a big Boyd fan, but I'd rather see him go to the Jets. I keep on hearing the Jets. Um,
Yeah,
I think he's going to wind up in Pittsburgh right now. And speaking of Pittsburgh, they traded Kenny Pickett. Can you believe that?
yeah.
They
There's some
they
people
traded him to
saying,
Philadelphia.
yeah, there's people saying some crazy stuff about him last year, and then yeah, see ya.
Yeah, I know.
Who else?
I know. I mean, there's actually local radio hosts in Pittsburgh that said he was going to be the next Burrow, and he's already
Yeah.
been traded. But hey, I mean, I wish him the best. You mentioned somebody a few minutes ago, Armstead, and yeah, I think his career is trending down a little bit, but he's still a
Mhm.
special player. I know he's had some nagging injuries. That's the kind of signing I want because he's a true difference maker. I mean, he's
Hmm.
up there like on the Hendrickson level. And I mean, and you hit something right on the head, tier two. We've signed some good productive pros that, I think they're going to make the Bengals a better team. When I say all in, I think we sometimes need to go that little extra mile and get that superstar. Because to me, Armstead, if you watched in the playoffs, he was dominant. He was absolutely dominant, unblockable. And it would be great to have somebody like that on that line. And
Hmm.
like you said, okay, we just paid Rankins 12 million, 12.5.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. All we needed to do is go up, maybe 16, 17 to get Armstead. I know I'm just saying three more, four
Yeah.
more $1 million.
Yeah.
But
What
still,
is it? It's not
to
our money.
a $3 billion organization, that's what frustrates me because this window, I mean, it's a real Super Bowl window, especially when you have a guy like Joe. And um, man, sometimes the Bengals are so conservative. Like Jake on the Bengals Pulse always makes fun of my age. I am old, okay? I do remember some of the Bengals from the 70s. I was a little kid, but I want you to know what we're seeing with Jesse Bates last year and T. Higgins this year. Dusty, it's been going on for years. I could go
Yeah.
through every decade and name players where the Bengals have just said, hey, they don't want to get in contract squabbles with them. They let them sign somewhere else. They trade them, and they go to these new teams, and they're all pros,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes the replacements come in. The Bengals it works out. Decent players. Majority of the time, it's a drop off. They're not as good as the player that left.
Yep.
And we just got to break that trend. The Bengals have changed for the better. They've evolved. They're doing so much things different. But when it comes to these little contract negotiations, they still play hardball. They really do. And
Hmm.
sometimes it leaves a sour taste in players and agents' mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I constantly think of when we lost Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones. When we lost those two dudes, I think I put something on Twitter about it not too long ago, but it was just it took us a minute. I think you commented and you said about how long it took to replace them, and you mentioned somebody else. I can't remember um quite who it was that you mentioned. It might have been Andrew Whitworth or Zeitler, I think maybe.
It was
But
Zeitler. It
yeah,
was Zeitler.
so we've done this and it's been a continuous thing, and I really like doing the year before drafting a replacement if that's the route you're going to go. But with the holes we have right now, you're not going to be able to draft a T replacement in the first two rounds. And we have our struggles in our trenches, and it's a really good trench class. So we need to spend draft picks there. But what's really came to bite us is kind of some of these draft classes. When you're picking number one overall, it's hard to miss. There's people that do it. There's a lot of teams that do miss, but you at least have pretty good odds. And when you're picking top five, you got pretty good odds of getting a solid player. And that was kind of what we did. But you go to round two and you get a Jackson Carman that sets you back a little bit. Then you're paying money on the offensive line instead of being able to use that in other spots, extending players, you're good players, but now you you got that miss there. So I'm getting tired of that. I really want to see a good draft class and set us up for the future. We got 4 picks in the first 100 picks. I think we got 97, I think, is the one we was awarded in the third round. So
Yeah, we have four in the first 100 picks, which is awesome. That's good.
yeah, that's great. We got kind of a surplus. If we get Joe's pick, is that for that seventh round pick? Is that this year or next year? Have they said?
It is. It is this year. It is this year. I think it's 224. We get.
Okay.
I think we have 3 7th round picks.
Yeah. So right now we're sitting at 10 total picks. If we could use those and trade up in a couple rounds, get our guys and hit on our guys, then
Absolutely.
that's great. There's a guy I really like. That'll probably be there around round 3, round 4, and having that extra pick really opens it up because do we really need a defensive back? Probably not, but it's always great to have some room in there for injuries and whatnot. And Cam Hart is a guy that we don't really have. We don't have a 6'3" cornerback, and I really like Cam Hart. So if we
Yes.
could use a third round pick and get a guy like that, I would be happy. We have Vaughn on the 1 year deal, and we got Mike Hilton coming up on his last year. So there's another dude, Kalen Bullock, who I've been pretty pretty heavily pushing. I like him a lot. And I know we just signed a couple dudes, but they're both 2-year and 1-year guys. And then we have Jordan Battle, who we expect to take a step. But if you move Dax up to the slot, then now you're really still missing that guy. So Kalen Bullock, I feel like he could be a guy we kind of get maybe in third round, plug in there, sit on him, let him learn behind Vaughn and them. And then once those cats are gone, we kind of can fill in and keep a good rotation. Is there any dudes that you're really liking kind of round 3, 4? I think a lot of people have hit on rounds 1 and round 2, but 3 and 4, those are the meat of if you hit on those guys, that is what sets you up for the future.
Yeah, depending on the simulator, whatever database you're using, like some of them have these guys rated so differently. Cam Hart, I do like. Kyle Hamilton's college teammate from Notre Dame. I do like his size. I think it would be a great addition. I think the Bengals need to start. I mean, our first 3 or 4 picks, they have to be able to produce this year. So I hate to draft players thinking about 2025 or 2026. Saying
I
that,
agree.
we have to, though. We have to, in a certain extent. Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia. Karras is on the last year of his contract. We need to start looking at the center, our next center for the next 6, 7, 8 years. Zach
That
Frazier,
brings me
I'm
to a
seeing
point.
as what's that?
I'll let you continue. Just remind
Yeah,
me of this point so I don't forget it, because I have a guy
sure,
too.
sure. I think Zach Frazier is like a second round pick right now in some of these databases and these mocks. If he could drop to the third round, consider him. I think third round would be great for skill position, potentially a tight end. Maybe if a
Mhm.
Trey Benson drops from Florida State, he's a powerful runner. I love the fact that we have 2 third round picks. That is
Mhm.
huge. Those are good football players, man. Really
Yep.
good football players. And if the Bengals wanted to, hey, why don't you say, hey, fourth and a sixth, let's get another third round pick.
Yeah.
Let's move on up or something. I would love that. So, yeah, there's a lot of good players. 10 picks is huge. It's going to restock this roster, but I'm telling you right now, I would be stunned if number 18 is not an offensive lineman. If
Mhm.
somebody drops an elite player, a Brock Bowers, somebody like that, I think they'll really think about it. Personally, uh, I don't want a Brock Bowers at 18. I'm in the minority with some of the Bengal fans.
I don't.
The guys make
I
fun of me.
haven't.
Yeah, I don't want him, man. I think I don't want that shiny toy. I need those big uglies to protect my quarterback and to dominate the defensive line and stop the
Yeah.
other team from running on us. Go
That
ahead.
is
What
exactly.
were you going to say?
Well, when you brought up Frazier, I was thinking of Jackson Powers Johnson is a guy I've been really high on that I'm I'm thinking most likely he's going to be there. And if you can have a guy that has somebody you think could be an all pro pretty early in his career, what would we say? What did you say just a little bit ago? We need guys that can produce this year. And I think he could. I think you could move him to guard and maybe you do extend Ted. That could be a possibility where we extend him. I don't think his market's going to be so high that we couldn't extend him. But say we lose Ted, you have a guy that you think could possibly be an All Pro. Now, what do you have at tackle at this point? Maybe Fawag is there. Probably not. Possibly there's a chance if Fawag is there, I'll probably take Fawag, I guess. But you have a number one guy at that position with true potential to be an All Pro. Now, can you get somebody else like a Frazier in the second round? That's that's a possibility. And who knows? It's really a game of luck, but that I think that could be a good strategy. Get somebody that protects Joe up the middle. If we do get Becton, maybe get a dude in the second round. There's a few dudes there. You have Blake, what's his name? Blake Fisher. That's kind of a
Fisher, yeah.
third, fourth round dude. There's the guy from BYU. There's some guys
Yeah.
that could be out there that give them a little time to develop. Don't start them right away, but you have a pro that's young. Becton, I think's, I don't know, 24. I think he's young, so you have a young dude that was really playing hurt last year. I think the past couple years he's been banged up. So get him in. He could be healthy. He could be a steal. He could be a steal of the draft or steal of free agency. and then let the guys develop behind him a little bit and have really good depth. If you have Volson coming off for an injury like that, he'd be a really solid backup. And then you have maybe that rookie that takes a step and wins out afterwards. But that that's kind of my thought. I would like a skilled position in the third or fourth, but that's kind of why I really want to hammer these trenches right now with proven guys, so we can really go best player available and make a solid push this year. I like
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. I think the last year the Bengals killed that draft. They did a really good job. Everybody on that team and every draft pick produced. Our punter struggled, but
yeah.
still, I mean, every one of them played a key part and contributed. They just have to hit it out of the park, man. This is the biggest off season in franchise history, and they just
Yeah.
got to replenish this roster. They got to find some key contributors. Our first, second, third round picks got to produce a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: I know people don't like the word plug and play. I think there are a few right tackles in this draft. If they do drop to 18, I think they are plug and play material. Now, concerning Becton, uh, I mean, we talked about his size, his athleticism. He was his coming into the draft, everybody was raving about him. What did the Bengals do? Think of Reggie Nelson. He was about to get cut. Comes to Cincinnati. There was a rebirth of his career. I mean, the guy played 5 years, made Pro Bowls. Cedric Benson was another guy. He was a cast off from the Bears, comes to Cincinnati, and he has a great, solid career there. There's a long list of players like that. BJ Hill was about to get cut with the Giants. So what did the Bengals do? The Bengals say, "Hey, man, let's just do a swap. We need a defensive lineman. Look at B.J. Hill right now." So I could see Becton coming in, playing with the coach that drafted him. He could potentially, reinvigorate his career. That would be great. That would be a heck of a steal there. And I think the Bengals would have the two biggest tackles in football right now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the draft is wide open. I mean, we're jumping around, but we're not done with free agency yet. I mean, get Tart, get Becton, maybe a cornerback, maybe a vet cornerback to come in. I know Cheeto had an up and down year last year, but when Cheeto was healthy before he tore his ACL, he was probably top three, top four cornerback in football.
Yeah.
And he got a nice contract with the Titans. He really did. We need another veteran presence on the outside, another veteran corner. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to target one in free agency. But this is a really exciting off season. Free agency has not been a bore. I tell you that right now. And these next 6 weeks leading up to the draft is going to be great.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Uh, it's just been weird. It's been kind of a weird off season, losing pieces, like I said, that you like, you want to see. As long as it makes sense to lose them, then I'm fine with that. It's a business, and I've said it many times that if the Bengals won a Super Bowl with Jake Browning, I would be just as happy as if they won it with Joe Burrow. I mean, you obviously want to see your favorite players winning it for you, but man, I'm 100% cool with us just winning a Super Bowl. I'm not going to be too picky at who's playing out there. So yeah, I want to keep digging into those trenches, man. Hopefully there still could be surprise cuts out there. It's not over. There's going to be people that's going to be cut. And we could definitely sign some players. Running back wise, do you think there's a good chance we draft one? Even though we have 3 signed, do you think there's a good chance for us to get a mid-round
I
running
think
back?
they will. I think they will. I think that the Bengals' philosophy, I think it's going to be a three-headed monster. I really
Mm-hmm.
do. I think they're going to smaller backs. Chase Brown, he's rocked up, but he's about 200 pounds, 205 pounds. Zach Moss is 205 pounds. These guys are tough, but they're not going to give you 25 carries a game. It's just not going to happen. They're going to get wore down. I think they'll get somebody else. I could definitely see that. Uh, I would love for them to be more efficient. And we've talked about this all the time. You guys, we've talked about it before. They have to get better at running the ball. It's not so much running more, but man, I would love for them to get 20, 30 yards more a game rushing the ball. It doesn't sound like a lot, but
That's
that
3
adds
first
up over
down.
the season. Absolutely, it is. And guess
Yeah.
what? That's another 3 minutes of ball control.
Mhm.
Dusty, I was thinking about this past year. We lost 8 games. I think 5 of the games, 6 maybe. The other team had the ball for 35 to 38 minutes
Yeah.
time of possession. You know
Just
what that
control the
means to
clock.
me? Yeah, exactly. Control the clock. And that, guess what? That keeps, even though Joe Burrow was hurt, that keeps the Bengals offense on the bench.
Yeah.
You can't score when you're on the bench.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So it's impossible. Well, your defense can, obviously, but that doesn't happen that often. We have to do a better job at complementary football and time of possession. We really got to. Of course, the defense could make some stops, get off the field, but when you're 38, 39-minute time of possession, guess what? Your defense is playing a lot more than they should. They're getting wore
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
They're
And
getting
that's
wore down. So
it's a
go
domino
ahead.
effect, man, because the defense starts getting wore down, so they're not going to get more stops. Now the other team's going to control the clock even better, and then
Yeah.
the offense, like you said, is off the field, so they're getting stale, they're getting cold. It's just like a pitcher, you got to keep that arm warm when you're
Yeah.
when your team's up to bat. You gotta stay out, you gotta be stretching, you gotta be staying warm, and it's the
Yeah.
same with players. They're staying on the sideline just waiting and waiting to go out there, and then you get a 3 and out because the offense went stale, and then now you're just hoping for a first down. That happened to us almost in the Super Bowl where we went just I don't know, it was like 5 possessions without a first down or 4 or something. It was something really bad, and I think that came off maybe I think Cheeto had an interception maybe, and then right after that it was just we were stale. We couldn't do anything, and that's the difference in a Super Bowl winning defense that can your offense just turns the ball over, and then you go out and you get a stop and another stop and another stop. And right now with us, we can't stop the run. People are getting 5 yards of carry on us. That's that's pretty good. 2nd and 5 is pretty ideal if you can do that. And if you run the ball again for another 4 yards, 3rd and 1, okay, like that's uh
Yeah.
that's kind of an ideal situation. And then when you do run the ball well, that opens things up for Jamar, for T, for a guy we haven't talked about yet, and Mike Gesicki, like
Yeah.
that. There's weapons out there, and if you can run, and they're not loading up the box, so why are we not getting more of a push, a better run game? That's what don't make sense to me. If you're really hammering down on Jamar and T, we should have a little bit of a mix match and be able to capitalize on that. And then once you do,
Yeah.
then that's where the problem will be for defenses against this team.
Before we came on, I had my TV on. The NFL Network showing the Rams Bengals Super Bowl because Donald retired. And
Oh no.
you're just bringing up the Super Bowl. I'm like, man, I needed therapy for that. No, but you're right. In that Super Bowl, it was frustrating. We had the lead. We had the ball 4 possessions with the lead. We punted each time. But guess what our defense did? Our defense stopped the Rams 4 times with no points. Well, that fifth time they
Hmm.
came down and scored and won the Super Bowl. And, you just can't
Yeah.
do that. You got to have more consistency. You got to. Let's go back in time this past year. Week 1 against the Browns, week 2 against the Ravens. The Browns Ravens game, they had the ball, each of those teams had the ball for 38, 39 minutes, while the Bengals offense only had it for 22. The defense, first 2 games of the season, starting rookies or really young guys in the secondary, that's the worst thing you want to happen to them,
Hmm.
and they were getting just stifled. Our guys were just on the field way too much. Offense only had 6 first downs in that Browns game. Joe was limited. The offense woke up against the Ravens in the second half, but the first 6 quarters of this past season, I don't think we had 10 first downs
Yeah, it was
our first
bad.
6 quarters. It was really bad. Then finally that light bulb came on. They started playing a little better in the second half of the Ravens game. That's where Geno Stone picked off the ball, changed the tone of
Yeah.
the game. But when you have a young defense, starting new players and guys getting experience for the first time, that's a horrible way to start the season. It was a horrible way. It didn't really
Yeah.
set them up to succeed, and we sort of saw the effects of that.
Yeah. One thing I can say that's good about this year is we know we have a backup quarterback, and we have a solid tight end for Joe. So hopefully Joe gets some good rest, man, and he can come out and be feeling fresh. And I'm sure he's hungrier than all of us fans to be out on the field and us watching him. So I do like knowing that Jake Browning he's a ball player. He'll go out there and he has potential to win us a couple games here and there if need be. We don't want that to we want to see Joe healthy all 17 games and healthy through the playoffs, but it does alleviate a little bit of nervousness and fear that if Burrow goes down, we're just done. Season's done. So I would like to see him, do a little bit more about the offense like we did when Jake was in. I did like the way the offense moved at times with Jake. Maybe a little more under center with Joe. Just moving him around a little more. Like that'd be nice having Jamar in the slot a little more often.
Yeah.
And then there's also a dude in the draft I really like is Javon Baker. I really like that guy. If you can get him
UCF,
the third or fourth, from UCF, I've been watching him for a hot minute, and I still like him. He's one of those guys I just keep going back to. Where Malachi Corley, he's a dude that I really like, but I just keep going back to Javon Baker, where I really like him. There's also a speedster from USC, Taj Washington. I don't know if you've heard of his name, but he's more of a later round pick. But I think he'd be an interesting guy with all of our draft capital that we have to maybe bring a guy like that in later and possibly open it up with the speed.
Yeah. I watch a lot of college football, but both of my sons graduated from Florida State University, and one of them actually works for the college right now. So I catch myself watching a lot of Florida State football, and they had a hell of a football team this past year. They really did. Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, Verse, just unbelievable guys, man. The Braden Fisk. Um, Johnny Wilson, I know he has drop problems. A lot of people talk about it. I watch these games. He drops some balls. I get it. But he's 6'7", and he is like 4'5", 40. He's like
Yeah,
Auden Tate, but a lot of speed. I mean, this
yeah,
guy, if he's there in the third or fourth round, I mean, he'll be a problem. He will be a massive. He's a matchup nightmare. You got to work with the catching. But Coleman, I know we ran a 4.65 at the combine, but when they did the individual drills, they had the GPS
yeah.
monitor. They could time. He was one of the fastest ones doing the drill. So football speed is there. He's a big guy. He's built like T. Higgins a little bit too. I could see him maybe in the second round if he's there. I have some mocks him in late first. They're all over the place, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good players in this draft. And Daniel Jeremiah mentioned it on the combine during NFL Network. 17 of his top 100 players are wide receivers in this
Yeah.
draft. He
Yeah. So
said it's
you're
going to
going to
be
get
this way
somebody.
every year. Yes, every
Yeah.
year he said it's going to be this way. The way college football has evolved, wide receiver centric. He goes, you're going to see 15 to 20 of the top 100 every year being wide receivers.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that because I love my skill players.
Yeah,
I love
yeah, yeah.
I love my trenches. I love a good edge rusher, man. Like when you get that edge rusher or a Geno Atkins up the middle, that there ain't nothing that fires me up more than a big hit on defense. I absolutely love it. So you mentioned Jared Verse. Let's say um, somebody jumps ahead of us, maybe Pittsburgh to get JPJ. Fuag is off the board. The top three, we're sitting there. Maybe Mims is the highest rated, but Verse is still there. Would you consider Verse? And I know we don't exactly need another edge rusher, but Verse is he's a guy that I like, and I think it'd be tempting. I'm not saying we would take him, but I would take him. I know why people would rather Brock Bowers, but if Brock Bowers and him are there, uh, that would be he'd be in consideration for me. Would he be for you, or do you think he's a guy that's a little farther out?
Absolutely, I would consider it. But you want to talk about a meltdown on Bengals Twitter if they draft him? I think Bengals Twitter would have a meltdown, because we drafted Murphy last year.
Yeah,
But listen, man, he is a good football player. That guy is rocked up. He's like 265. If you watched any of their games last year, that Louisville
Mhm.
game, they could not block him. They had two, three people on him, and he was killing those guys. And then Fisk, same thing. I mean, they
Yeah.
just came at you in waves. There's nothing wrong with sacking a quarterback or putting a lot of pressure. That helps that secondary out. But
Yeah.
Trench's offensive line, the one thing I don't like about Mims, he's been hurt a lot. He's sort of like Becton. He's built like him. He's been hurt a lot. Can we afford? I mean, it's a little bit of a gamble. I know
Yeah.
he's a freak athletically, and I mean the ceiling on him. He could be probably one of the best in football. Do we want to? Do we want to deal with that? I don't know. I think if Fawaga drops somebody like that, I think that's you have to run to the podium and submit that because I think honestly he could be your plug and play guy. I think
Would
he
you
could
move
start
up?
right away. What's
Would you
that?
move up? Let's just say to pick like 12 for Fuaga. Now that we got 10 picks, would you be opposed to that? Because I think if if you got a really good idea that he's not going to fall past 14 or something, I would not mind using a pick in or maybe even bundling a couple and moving up and getting a guy like him that you are sure that can come in, can start and be productive for you.
I would definitely consider it. They have a lot of draft capital to do that. There's three players that I'm zeroed in on this draft in the first round. It's Fautanu from Washington, Fawaga, and the center from Oregon. I
Hmm.
think if any three of them are going to be at 18, you jump on them. The center from Oregon, Paul Brown said this. You build your offensive line from the inside out. The Bengals, if they drafted him, JPJ, he would be the fifth center in franchise history drafted in the first round. The Bengals love drafting centers in the first round, and I think he would be there for 10 years. He would be
Yeah.
there for 10 plus years. And you want to talk about, I mean, what do quarterbacks hate? They hate pressure from the inside. They can't stand that. And he
Yeah.
would be a rock there. He would be a plug and play. He would be a starter from day one. Karras would take over one of the guard spots. I really do. And Karras, PFF had him ranked as a better guard than center prospect. So,
Hmm.
I mean, if any of those three are going to be there at 18, you jump on it. If you start
Yeah.
seeing them drop, man, you might have to. You mentioned the Steelers. The Steelers want a center, and I
Yeah.
can
They
see them
want
doing everything
JPJ,
in
I
their
think.
power. And they
Yep.
would love to stick it to us. They would love to stick it to us.
They did that with was Bush, the linebacker.
Yeah, Devin Bush.
Devin Bush, yeah. And
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah.
man. I really like Jackson Powers Johnson. He is a guy that, he's not the prettiest pick, he's not this crazy skill position or right to any tackle, but he's a guy that can start right away. You don't have many questions or concerns about. He gives you added depth and it's a deep tackle class like a lot of the experts are saying. So you might be able to go in the second round and find you a guy, or even the third round. It happens every year. Every year there's players that slide further than they should, and they get picked up and they become. I'm not saying they're Pro Bowl players every year, but they're average NFL players. And if you get an average line in a solid interior line, that's what I want. I'm 100% happy and pleased with that. I'm not. You would not hear me complain one bit. I do like
Let me,
uh
yeah.
I do like the
I just want to
idea
ask
that
you.
yeah, go ahead.
No, 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 no. I mean, I was just curious. We have 10 draft picks. If we keep them all, do you think I'm crazy if I say the Bengals will spend five of those picks on the trenches?
They
I,
should. That's
yeah,
it would be crazy not to, in my opinion.
yeah. I think at least four. I could see
Yeah.
two. I could see two offensive linemen, two defensive linemen, maybe five. I really could. We, I mean, I know Pro Football Focus. People, you know, I subscribe to it. I know it's just one of many different companies. Not everybody's into Pro Football Focus. I get it, but they rank the Bengals offensive line 26 out of 32 in efficiency. We got to get better than that. And I love Karras. I love Kappa. They've improved the Bengals offensive line compared to what we had, but we
Hmm.
have to start looking. We have to start looking at potential replacements, more athletic replacements. And I think it starts with this draft and the next one coming up next year. So we're going to
Yeah.
see a lot of new faces on that offensive line. So that's where I could see two. I wouldn't be surprised if there was three.
Yeah. I I 100% agree. And we got 66 people watching right now live. So if you
Nice,
guys want,
nice.
I don't know if my comment section's not working or if you guys just don't want to talk to us. Maybe we're just talking and covering everything so good, Bond, that they're just letting us flow, you know. But if you guys got any
Hey,
questions or anything, we've been on maybe another 5 minutes or so. You go with that, Mon?
absolutely, buddy. I'm good. I'm good. I don't have to leave for a little bit, but 5, ten
Okay,
minutes, whatever you want.
cool, good deal. There are you said four to five picks. I can definitely see that because I think there's a lot of good three techs too, in that we could take. There's some good edge rushers that are going to be there rounds 3, 4. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we take two out of our first four picks, or in which I think they should be. Two of the first four should be some sort of offense or defensive lineman. So then you get to kind of the later rounds, you might take a swing on a guy. There's a linebacker I'd like to talk about too, Edgerrin Cooper, out of Texas A&M, I believe. And this guy, he had 8 sacks last year. He is kind of a dude that's just all over the place, and I really like him. If you haven't saw him or watched any film on him, look up Edgerrin Cooper because I think he could be a dynamic piece. But he's going to go really high. He's probably going to go in the second round or so. But if you could somehow package something around, get a dude that can make some plays, rush the passer, in kind of a little different change of pace from what we have. I think he'd be somebody that could be fun. Braden Fisk, you kind of talked about him. He's moved up draft boards a lot. Did you see him as a guy that's watched a lot of Florida football? Did you think he'd move
Oh
up
God.
to the second round pretty quick?
I remember after the Louisville game, I tweeted, I'm like, this guy's going to be a problem in the NFL. The one thing about him, he's 25 years old. He's a little older. Um, he's like 292 pounds. If he's there in the second round, I would jump all over it. I love him. I think he's going to be great. Let me ask you a quick question here. I got my tablet right here, and you made me think of something. I started a little simulator right now, 3 rounds. I'm going to name the players available right now in the sim. I want you to
Okay.
tell me who would you pick. Okay, we're
In the
at
second?
18 right now. What's that?
Do you say in the
What's
second?
that?
Do you say the
No,
second
no, this
round?
right. No, this is the first. Oh, Fisk. If he was in the second round, I'd jump all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but like right now, I started this simulator. We're at pick 18 for the Bengals. I'm going to name off these 5 players that are available. Who are you going to pick? Okay, Johnny Newton, Folatanu from Washington. This is the highest rated. Nate Wiggins, cornerback Clemson. Jared Verse, edge Florida State. Jackson Powers Johnson, center Oregon. Or Latu, edge rusher from UCLA. Or Mims. Those are the top 7 players. Out of
So
those, who would you pick?
I don't want Mims. I know there's a lot of people
Okay.
that want him for his potential. Uh, he scares me too much. I think if you're going to take Mims, I'd rather trade back and get more draft picks, and hopefully Mims is there. Get Tyler Guyton would be
Okay.
would be something I would do. Jackson Powers Johnson was he second to last, or no? It was Latu, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Watu is a guy that I think, if it wasn't for injuries and some things he had going on, I think he could be one of the higher rated guys. He's solid. I think he had 13 sacks last year. Like he could be a difference maker for us. I would probably have to pass on him verse, and then I always mess the Washington kid's name up. I always get him and the guy from Penn State. I
Yeah.
mess them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bengals and Brews with Dale, and I was asking him about one of the guys. I was like, no, not that dude. I was like, the Penn State one. He's like, yeah, I was like, no, it's the other one from. I was like,
From
he's like
Washington.
Washington. I was like, yeah, they all start with F's, man. I was like, I don't know.
I hear you.
Fuaga wasn't number one, was he?
No, Fuaga's already been picked. He was picked by the Jets at 10. So these are
Okay.
the best available in the simulator that I just started. So
Who?
Newton, Fatanu,
Yeah, Newton.
Wiggins, Verse, or Powers Johnson.
Okay, no, I'm not. I'm not taking Wiggins.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, he'd be interesting if the trenches were shirted up a little better. He'd be a guy that would probably be in consideration for me. Yeah, and Johnny Newton would be interesting. I don't know. In that scenario, there's a lot of talent to where I wouldn't be afraid
Yeah,
to
there
trade
is.
back.
That's a tough
But
one.
if we don't if trade back's not an option, I still think Jackson Powers Johnson, he's kind of my guy. And now I've been right the past 4 years. I've been saying this a
Yeah,
lot because because I really want this fifth year to happen. The first 2 years was pretty easy. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and then obviously with Jesse Bates, it was kind of uh we a lot of people thought later first round pick, there could be a good safety there. Dax Hill was a guy that I liked. I liked his versatility. So he was kind of a guy I was like, yep, I think Dax. And then um oh shoot, Miles Murphy. He was dude last year that I was really high on. That I just liked. I liked what he put on at Clemson. He seemed like
yeah.
he tackled a lot of quarterbacks from behind where they're scrambling out of the pocket. He didn't give up on plays and he put some effort in and he'd track them down. I like that a lot. So I really liked him. I still think he's got a lot of potential. So I
Me
think
too. Me
I
too.
want him to prove some people wrong this year. But if I'm the GM, if I'm Duke, I'm probably going with Jackson Powers Johnson because I think he starts day one, and I think he is a guy with potential through the roof that could be, he could be a legend here in Cincinnati. And
Yeah.
if worst comes to worst, he's an average player. I think he's got his floor is really high, and I think his
Uh-huh.
ceiling's really high as well. And
That's
that's
who
what I
I
want.
picked. I
Yeah.
picked him. Okay. Okay. We're
Okay.
at the second round. We're at the second round right now. I'm going to name the 5 highest ranked players in the second round. Okay.
Okay. You
Zach
pick
Frazier.
yours. You pick
Okay.
you
I'll
pick
pick.
you Yeah, you pick yours and then read it
Okay.
off to me and then we'll see how close we are.
Okay. I picked Jackson Powers Johnson also. I agree with you. That's who my first round pick was. Okay. Top rated players in the second round right now are Zach Frazier from West Virginia, Lad McConkey, wide receiver, Georgia, Bo Nix, quarterback, Oregon, cornerback Mike Sanderstill from Michigan. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Roman Wilson, wide receiver from Michigan, Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver from Florida, and Javion Sanders, tight end from Texas. Wow.
Okay.
I mentioned Zach Frazier earlier. I love
Yeah.
it. He's West Virginia is my team. I love the fact that we need to start, solidifying our offensive line, especially because we have guys that their contracts are going to expire. I just don't want to replace these important spots with just guys. Frazier has a lot of talent. One thing I loved about him at the combine, he worked out. He didn't run, but he did all the position drills. The guy broke his leg in December, and he's out there doing these position drills. I mean, that's a grown ass man. I love
That's
him.
crazy.
Yeah, it is. Lad McConkey. Daniel Jeremiah was raving about him. Couldn't stop talking about him. Bo Nix. I'm not going to say anything. We're not drafting a quarterback. Cornerback. You can never have enough cornerbacks. He played a national champion. I tell you, that's tempting. That really, you can never have enough cornerbacks. Roman Wilson. I don't know much about him. Played
Yeah, I'm
for
not a big
Michigan
fan.
also. I don't know much about. And Ricky Pearsall. I tell you what, fast, 4.45.
Big
He could be
too.
the new Tyler Boyd. I do like him. I'm going to tell you, I like
Yeah.
him. It's between him and Sanders, the tight end from the Texas. I like him. He's a little on the shorter side, but he's super athletic. If I had to pick, I'm going to be a homer and pick Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia. That's
And
my
then
pick.
you just move him to guard.
Yeah. Or you
Yeah.
know what? Maybe he's one of those guys that just sits on the bench this year. Something I preached about not doing. So
Yeah, I mean, give us a little depth. If it was me, I mean, Lad McConkey, he's interesting. Pearsall, I always mess his name up. I always call him Pearsall or Pearsall, and it's always whichever one I don't say.
sounds like a deodorant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a spray on or something. I don't know,
yeah.
but he he's a guy that has a real big catch radius. He came down with a lot of different balls that you just maybe don't expect him to catch because I remember a couple one-handed catches where he just gets up and grabs it, and it's like, Jeezy Pete's, man, that was that was some wild plays right there. And we've had a lot of luck in the second round. So if I really like DJ Tampa too, and I don't that cornerback from Michigan. I don't know how much I like him. Uh, I like Tampa a lot. I like his size. I like the way he plays. Have you watched much of DJ Tampa?
Now, he was picked number 37 by the Chargers,
Oh,
but
he
I know
went.
he's highly, yeah, he went already. He went already.
Oh man, I was hoping he'd be there because most of the mock drafts I have, he's been there actually later. So I was kind of hoping he was there.
There's some other good players here that I didn't mention. Chris Jenkins is available. Xavier Legette, Jaden Hicks, Polk is available, wide receiver from Washington. Karan Ahmadjani, a tackle from Yale. There's a lot of other good players I didn't mention, but I'm still happy with my homer pick.
Yeah. As much as I hammered trenches, man, I really like Legette. I like that South Carolina kid. Xavier Legette is he's just somebody that's a little different. I feel like he can do a lot for us. He's a yards after catch kind of dude that he can just bust some plays out. How far down is he in comparison to Pearsall?
God, he's 6'3", 220 or 6'2", 220. He's a big guy. He's
He's
ranked
big.
number 60. He's a big dude.
I'm taking
Legette
Xavier
is.
Legette. I'm sticking to
Okay.
my guns. I like Legette a lot. I like his just. I watched his pro day and
Okay.
I remember seeing an interview of him and the dude looked. I mean, he looked phenomenal. You know, I don't think he's as big as a DK Metcalf, but he was just yoked up like him. Have you seen him?
I have. He is. He reminds me. Yeah, he's a big rocked up dude, man. He is a machine. But I just went ahead and selected him for you. Okay, so Legette is the guy. This is our last pick in this little simulation we're doing. You're going to be really mad. You're going to be really mad because somebody here that you mentioned a few minutes ago that you really liked. All right. So we're at the third round now. Okay, this is the final mock that we're doing.
Did he
These
go
are the
right before
players.
us?
Yeah, no, you picked Legette. You got Legette. Okay,
Okay.
we that's what we. Now this is in the third round. This is the best players available in the third round. Okay, Blake Corum, running
Okay.
back, Michigan. Javon Baker, wide receiver, UCF. I know.
My
That's all I'm
guy.
saying. I know.
My guy.
Max Melton, cornerback, Rutgers. Gabe Murphy, who the Bengals have interviewed.
Mhm.
UCLA edge rusher. Jamari Trash, wide receiver. Louisville, Bucky Irving, halfback, Oregon. Malachi Corley, Western Kentucky. Ooh, Trey
Another.
Benson, halfback, Florida State.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is one of my favorite players in the draft. Cameron Kitchens, safety, Miami. Those are the top players. And Jeremiah Trotter's on here, and Patrick Paul, tackle, Houston, I like also. So those are
Uh,
some of the best players in the third round.
I'm taking Paul. I would like Trey Benson, but I feel like in the fourth round I could
I
probably
agree.
get what's that dude's name? Lloyd. From USC. Marshawn Lloyd. I feel like he might be there in round 4 or something. He's a guy that I like, a running back that he could possibly be there, or the Tennessee kid. He ran
Jalen Murphy. Jalen, I forget
right,
his name.
right.
Yeah, Jalen Wright. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that guy is fast, and he he was fast. He's like 23 miles an hour. That's faster than I think Jamar. I don't know if Jamar's been tracked at 23.
No, I'll tell you this mock simulator that I'm using has our second, third round pick in here. So I thought the draft was over. We have one more pick in the third round.
Oh,
Guess
here
who's
we
still
go.
here? Trey Benson, Dominique Pui, tackle, Pooney, whatever, however you say his name. Ray Davis, running
Hmm.
back, Kentucky. He's a beast.
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting.
let's see. Marshawn Lloyd, halfback, USC. Bio Lemur, the center from Arkansas. Jacob Cowing, wide receiver from Arizona. Sione Vaki, safety from Utah.
Mm, hmm. I'm gonna go running back. I got some trenches locked down. I've
Okay.
got a tackle. Well, I took or I got JPJ, Then I took Leggett. In the third round, I took, which I just made that pick, I took Paul, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So my offensive line's looking pretty good. Is there any interior D line dudes?
I'm looking
Is
right
the
now.
Ohio
And
State
by the way,
kid?
Javon Baker's still available too, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
that's killing me.
looking. Yeah. I just love these simulators. No, there's no in this range. There is no. Oh, wait a second. Somebody that you mentioned earlier is available in our discussion. Cam Hart's available at 119, and Leonard Taylor, defensive lineman from Miami's at 120.
So we're at pick 97 right now.
We are at pick 97. Yes.
I think give me Cam Hart. I
Yeah,
like Cam Hart.
fair.
The board's obviously going to fall a little different. I think
Absolutely.
some of those guys are going to go a little sooner. That's on there. I think Trey Benson's probably. I could see him being early third round guy. I think Marshawn Lloyd's a guy that could probably maybe fall a little bit to the fourth. So if maybe he won't, but he might. My main dude's Jalen Wright. So if Jalen Wright's there, that might have been my pick. Just because his speed, and if we're going to like a committee, he's got decent size. He's not super big, but I think he's around 210 or so and 5'11. Not built like a big running back, but he's definitely not small and fast, so he might fit us a little bit. But I like it. I like it, Mon. I should have pulled it up on my. I could have shared my
Oh, we
screen.
should. I just sent you the results. I sent you the
Okay.
results to your phone, and the mock simulator didn't like us, but I'll take this draft any day.
Yeah. What was our grades?
The overall C minus. They gave us a D plus for Jackson Powers Johnson, which is crazy. The simulator is glitching.
Yeah.
Leggett, they gave us a D plus. They gave us a B for Patrick Paul and D for Cam Hart.
Yeah.
Listen, if these guys are there, I'd take them in a second.
Yeah. I'm 100% satisfied. I mean, I would have liked if Braden Fisk was there in the second.
Yep.
That would have been the ideal situation. If I get JPJ, and then Braden Fisk, and then you said Jalen or not Javon Baker. If Javon
Yeah.
Baker's there in the third, and then possibly give me the running back, one of those guys, or Ray Davis or the
Yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd in the other with that other third, like,
Yeah.
and even Cam Hart. I still think Cam Hart's in that discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that right there would be, if I could mock up a 3-round mock, that one I just said would have been it for me, man. That would have been it. Who was you choosing?
No, I like. I would have taken Benson with one of them. I would have taken him. I just
Yeah.
got the homer in me, Florida State. I admit the Zach Frazier one would have been a little questionable, but I just feel like center is going to be a huge need. But we actually picked our center in the first round, correct?
Yeah, we got JPJ.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We got JPJ. But Zach Frazier in the second round, if we don't, if the Bengals go another route, I have no problem with the first round pick. Like I told you, I have 3 people already, zeroed in at pick 18, and he was one of them. If any of those 3 are there, the Cincinnati Bengals need to sprint to that podium and pick one of those players. But Cam Hart, I like a lot. I like his size, and him and Kyle Hamilton are like the best friends. If he could do anything that Kyle Hamilton can do, that's going to make the Bengals a better team.
Oh
So
yeah,
we need to do that
and
again, man. Mock drafts are fun. They're really a lot of fun.
dude, I love them. I can't get enough. I sit down, I'll just be zoned out, just going to town doing them. I'll
Yeah.
hopefully I'll get one that sticks and it looks pretty similar to what the Bengals end up doing. But I'm really hoping they trade up. Maybe in the second, and that surprises me. You said DJ Tampa, or TJ, not DJ, sorry. TJ Tampa went
37.
went earlier than some of the mocks I've been doing. So maybe my scouting on him, I've been high on him for pretty much this whole offseason. He was a guy that just stood out to me that I would not have a problem at all taking in the second. I like him a lot. He's definitely a dude. If it was, I would take Braden Fisk as kind of that Fisky. How do you say? Is it Fisky or Fisk? I always call him Fisk, but I've heard people say Fisky.
Yeah. Have you heard? I mean, we mentioned earlier about what Daniel Jeremiah said 17 of these top 100 players are wide receivers.
Mhm.
So, guess what? There's going to be a reaction to that. You're going to see NFL teams targeting cornerbacks to combat that. They got
Yeah.
to have good corners. They really need to. Listen, don't be surprised. I mean, I won't be happy about it because we need trenches. If there's an elite corner at 18, the Bengals could jump
Mhm.
all over it. The kid from Toledo, was it
Yeah.
Quentin Mitchell? Is that his name?
Yeah.
If he's there,
Quinion Mitchell.
yeah, they could jump on him in a second. You know what? Bengal Twitter might have a little bit of a meltdown, but that really wouldn't be a bad pick if you think about it. You
No,
know, so but I don't know, man. It's gonna be a fun 6 7 weeks, and man,
dude,
we
I'm
need to do a
perfectly.
mock draft again. We need to do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again, and I'll be a little better prepared, and I'll pull it up, and
Okay.
we'll be able to see it on the screen. But Mitchell, dude, if he's there, that would be a hard pass for me. Even with, I mean, Flog is a big need, but Mitchell could really solidify that secondary for us. And your D line's going to look a little better if your secondary is holding down the fort and they can't get the ball out. It gives them more time. That offensive line gets tired. Quarterback maybe is not the best thing to have a quarterback start scrambling and panic when you have Lamar Jackson back there, but it is what it is. And
Yeah.
with Derrick
Yeah.
Henry being there now at Baltimore, that really changes kind of the feel of not having DJ Reader for me. And I know he's getting a little older and Derrick Henry, but he still had a good year last year. He played some really good football, and I don't know what he'll be, but the biggest problem was they ran the ball well, and they really didn't have anybody running the ball that was great. They always had injuries. Dobbins, when he was in, he was running the ball pretty good, but he was hurt. Gus Edwards, like now you got a legit dude that's been fairly durable in it. That's going to make things difficult. So the AFC North, you definitely have to be able to stop the run and and be able to get after the quarterback, and you need to be able to run the ball. That's it right there. That's AFC North football.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be just really interesting to see what happens. Just one last thing I wanted to mention about the DJ Reader thing. Somebody did bring up a good point on Twitter. They were talking about it in spaces. The Bengals last year played a lot of five-man defensive fronts. They really did. If we lock up Tart, if we had Tart, Hill, and Rankins with Hubbard and Hendrickson, that to me that's pretty scary. We know
Mhm.
Hendrickson's going to get to the quarterback. Rankins and Tart can get to the quarterback. So if you have a five-man front like that, and those guys are pretty athletic, especially Hubbard can drop back and do some things. That would combat not having DJ Reader in there, because that'd be definitely three guys weighing well over 300 pounds, 305, 310 pounds. So if you're worried about people taking up space, those guys would do that. I don't know, man. Listen, I know losing Reader, losing Mixon, and all that, and the uncertainty about T. Higgins, there's a lot of stuff going on. But there has been some positives in free agency. There really has, and we still got some time. We really do. But like you said, we just have to go into training camp a better team roster wise than we were last year. After free agency last year, I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't crazy about Nick Scott. I know that we had lost Bates and Bell. I was really concerned about that, and it. We
Yeah, it
saw
bit
what
us in the
happened.
butt.
It did.
It
It
did.
did.
Now let me ask this: do you think Sam Hubbard's going to start playing inside a little more?
I think he can on situational, just 3rd and 10 or something. He's 270. I don't think he can do that a lot. He's going to have some wear and tear on his body. I think it's unfair. He got a lot of criticism on Twitter, because of his play, but he was playing with an ankle issue. He had surgery when the season ended. Sam Hubbard is who he is. He's going to give you 5 to 7 sacks a year. He's good against the run. He's a good football player, and I think on 3rd and long, he could absolutely go in there and give you some snaps, inside.
Yeah, I agree, and I think hopefully Joseph Asai has a bounce back, man. If he
Yeah,
does, like that would be great. That'd be a nice problem to have is having some fresh pass rushers. Could you imagine how many sacks um Trey Hendrickson could have had if we just had another dude? Because the next damn guy had half of the pressure rate of what he had. Trey's pressure rate was so high. Like let's just say he was at I don't know, 60% on passing downs or something. The next dude was all the way down to like 30. It was literally half of what his production was. You cannot have that. If that's the case, man, like it's impressive that he still had, what do you have, 17 sacks? It was 19, 17, I think 17, but that's a lot of sacks. And when you got one dude attributing to all that, and he's the one getting the pressure, that's very impressive to me. And I think if he had that Larry O and BJ Hill mixture right there, he could have been up in the 21 sack range. And just having people kind of
Absolutely.
funnel him his way, and even the half sacks count. You know, there's
Yeah.
count for something. It would have been nice. So Braden Fisk, come on down the second, buddy. We'd love to
Yeah.
have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, those if those guards are worried about the defensive tackles, they're not going to go over there and help out on those pass rushers. You know, Trey one-on-one, it's over. See you later.
Yeah,
I think you could see a spike in Hubbard's stats too if they get consistent pressure up the middle, and I think that's their goal. Hopefully, they lock up Tart. Dave Lapham is a big Tart fan. He was talking about him, and hopefully, it works out. We'll see.
I agree. Well, Mon, you've been in here for an hour and 20 minutes, buddy. And as always, it's a pleasure having you on. I love talking ball with you, man.
Dude, thank you
Whenever,
so much. You're the best. I really appreciate you, man, and thank you. And I love coming on.
yeah, whenever you're free, like I always say, come on here. Hopefully before the draft, let's do it, and we'll do another mock draft when free agency's kind of done, and we can see what we want the Bengals to do maybe a little more clearly. We'll do a legit one and see how it pans out.
I like our C minus. Okay, our C minus is solid. That was me in high school. So look, okay, that's good stuff.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
too, and we panned out decent. We panned out pretty well.
yeah, we got podcasts. Come on, so it's all
Yeah,
good.
we're doing something right, and we're Bengals
Yeah,
fans. I mean, come on.
that's right. That's right.
All right,
All
Mon,
right,
go
buddy.
ahead.
Thank you so much.
I know everybody, if they're watching me, they know you, but go ahead and plug your stuff, man. If we can help you guys get a few more listeners, they won't be disappointed if they're not listening to you yet.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Bengals Pulse podcast. We're going to be live tonight at 8:30 on Twitter and YouTube. During the season, we're on every Sunday and Wednesday night. During the off season, we alternate once a week between Monday and Wednesday. We're doing a special show tonight because there's been so much Bengal talk, Bengal activity this week, a lot of emotion. We're going to talk about that. It's me, Jake, and Eric. So please tune in. And man, I really appreciate it, Dusty. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, buddy. We'll see you
All
and talk to you soon. Wish you well. Enjoy Florida in that beautiful weather.
right, man.
Your day.